My lawn is looking like poo. I apologize for using such crass terminology, but it's just the way I feel when I look at my lawn. Now, yes, I can go and use this wonderful drone footage and compare it to both my neighbors' lawns. I can compare it to other lawns in my neighborhood, but in reality, that's not fair because a lot of my neighbors don't really take care of their lawns. They do their mowing and stuff, but they're not sitting here putting out fungicides and fertilizer and herbicides and whatever else to make sure their lawn is looking absolutely fantastic. So when I look at my lawn, I see a real big mess up on my part. Allow me to explain. Let's go back in time just a couple months to earlier this year when I posted a video essentially saying if your lawn is looking fantastic, why do anything to it? Just let the lawn look fantastic and do something else with that free time. That video was extremely short-sighted on my part. Here's what I mean by extremely short-sighted. I was not thinking in the future tense. I was thinking very heavily in the present tense. With lawn care, you can't really focus too much on the present. Yes, if your lawn's looking good, I stand by the sentiment of that video. If your lawn's looking good, don't sit there and put out a bunch of stuff. But the reason your lawn is looking good is because of what you did in the past. It's not because of what you did that day or maybe even that week. Similar to when you put out a pre-emergent. When you put out a pre-emergent, you're not putting it out for the weeds that are currently there, if there are any weeds. You're putting it out with the intention of stopping weeds from coming up in the future. The story of my lawn starts back in the late fall, early winter of last year. I did put out a full winterizer application. And as I mentioned previously, that wasn't for the present time, that was for the upcoming spring. Because the grass really, unless soil temperatures really creep up for an extended period of time, your grass isn't going to use those nutrients. Those nutrients are for the spring. So that way when the temperatures start to warm up, those roots are going to have the nutrients available to dive down deep. The nitrogen's there to cause the grass shoots to go upwards, have a nice dark green color, and then you have the potassium there for the overall health of the plant. But the thing is, those nutrients go quick. I didn't supplement those nutrients at all going later into the season. Back in early March of this year, I did throw out a half rate of 2600 Greene charge from Greene County Fertilizer. That's 26% nitrogen, no potassium or phosphorus at all. And then I didn't do my next application of fertilizer until early to mid-May, where I did full application rate of 402 Fluorogreen. That's 4% nitrogen, 2% potassium, and I did the full biostims with that. That was pretty much it for my spring fertilizer applications. Hopefully you can tell that I have not put a whole lot into my lawn up until recently. So when things eventually got dicey, it didn't have the nutrients necessary to defend itself. And things got dicey, and they got dicey fast. So while a lot of what's going on in the lawn is my fault, quite a bit of it is not. It's a lot of things happening at the same time. I didn't put enough inputs. That's my fault. But what's not my fault is that the things got hot fast, they got humid fast, and the rain stopped. So the heat and the humidity added, and also having tall fescue, I got disease. So disease took out a little bit. I got out to it pretty quickly, so it didn't have a major effect. But when the heat and the humidity and the no rain all hit nearly at the same time, the lawn didn't have the nutrients to combat those stresses, and so the lawn started to do what it's doing now, and that is shedding. All the loose stuff that you can just sort of pull up like this, that stuff's not coming back. That is dead grass. A lot of it is just dormant, where if you can't pull it up and it's still attached to the root zone, it will come back. Some things that happen when your lawn is in a weakened state, like mine is in, things want to take over. This is wild Bermuda that is creeping into my lawn from right over there at my neighbor's house. You can kind of tell there, I can only do what I can do. Bermuda's just a pain, and without spending a bunch of money, it's really hard to just sort of kill off But if you notice here, I have some as well, but this is yellowing. And this is because I put out an application of Sublime because I had a lot of clover popping up, which you can see the clover is starting to die off. Sublime is a 3-way herbicide that contains dicamba, triclopyr, and mesotrione, aka tenacity, which Bermuda hates mesotrione. So that's why this stuff is weakening. This will not die. I would have to come out with a couple more applications to fully take care of it. You don't necessarily want to be treating weeds in the heat of the day because that will hurt your overall grass. So when I did the application of Sublime, I did it at night. Temperatures just happened to be a lot lower that evening, but you don't want to apply stuff that's going to stress it out like a herbicide. However, there are things that you simply cannot help. Areas that are close to sidewalks, streets, asphalt, driveways, these areas are going to cook. This parkway strip I gave up on because I can't keep enough water on this thing to keep it green. Although it was looking the best it had ever looked through the spring, but now in the summer it's competing with the asphalt, it's competing with the sidewalk. It's very thin. There's also a layer of like road base underneath it within 4 or 5 inches. So it's just a troubled area, and this time of year it's just going to go ahead and cook, and so I'm letting it check out, but I am keeping the weeds under control, as you can kind of see right there. I'm keeping weeds under control so it doesn't take over. So what can you do if your lawn is currently in this state of stress and struggle? What is it? You can either fight or flight, fight or take flight. Fighting would entail keep water on it. It's obviously getting very hot, so it needs the water. If you don't, like the parkway strip over there, if you don't put water on it, the lawn is either going to go into drought dormancy or the lawn is simply going to die, depending on how hot it is. Don't push it with a bunch of fertilizer. Pull back on your fertilizer applications. I know you want to, you think that's what you need, but the lawn isn't ready to grow. It is stressed. Pushing more growth is going to increase the potential of disease in the lawn. That's something you also don't want to fight, because in a stress state, if you put disease in there, you're fighting one too many battles that is just a lot to take care of, and it's just a bad situation. You can apply low doses of nitrogen to keep things fed, but nothing too crazy. Product I recommend is 402 Green. I love that product from Greene County Fertilizer. I'll link to it down below. That 4% nitrogen, it has some iron in there, so you're going to get some green on the grass that's doing well, but you're not forcing a bunch of growth, and you are just keeping the lawn fed. You can also take flight, which means just count it as a loss right now. Say, well, the lawn is in such tough shape, trying to keep it going is sort of a waste of time. It's a waste of money. That's pretty much it. The lawn looks the way it looks, and I'm frustrated about it, but I can only really be frustrated with myself. I could have prevented this had I not thought so in the moment back in the spring. I should have thought more in the future. But anyway, I'll link to all the products that I mentioned down below. If you want to try out any of those Greene County fertilizer products that I mentioned, especially CK. CK is great for when your lawn has signs of stress. It's an active stress reducer. So it's highly concentrated sea kelp, which is great for defeating stress in the lawn. So that's something you could put out. And if your lawn is sort of like on that teetering point, where I think mine is past the teetering point, if your lawn's on that teetering point where it's starting to look a little, put out some CK or a stress blend of fertilizer, and that could help push it back into the good side of the spectrum versus the bad side of the spectrum. I'll see you all in the next video. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Please enjoy the summer. Don't stress too much about the lawn. I should practice what I preach, but I can't help it. God bless.